Hello again, and welcome to day 2 of week 31 of year 3 of the Religious Education Initiative. So, last time, St. Theophan recommended that this discipline of meditation upon holy things, upon the attributes and the actions of God, should be done in the space of silence that he had previously recommended to follow one's disciplined rule of prayer each morning. So this time he will begin to sum up what he has recommended to us as he moves toward the conclusion of this sermon. He says, so, here are 3 methods you can add to the rule of prayer, methods by which you can teach the soul to rise prayerfully towards God. To sum up, they are setting aside some time each morning to meditation on God. 2. Turning every action to the glory of God. And 3. Calling out often to God in brief appeals. If your morning meditation on the divine is conscientious, you will find yourself with a lasting disposition to remember God. By reflecting on God, you will make your soul careful to take account of God and to act to his glory in its every action, outer as well as inner. And such a soul will be poised so that frequent prayerful exclamations will be drawn out of it. These 3, reflection on God, doing everything to the glory of God, and frequent appeals to God, are the most effective tools for prayer of mind and heart together. Each moves the soul towards God. The labor this involves can be compared to climbing a mountain. The higher up the mountain one is, the lighter and easier does one breathe. It is the same here. The more one accustoms oneself to these exercises, the higher he will raise his soul. The higher the soul rises, the more freely prayer will act within it. Now, this is what we've talked about before, and he kind of, in summing up, has gone in reverse order. He talked to us in the opposite order from this. He said, first, if you want to extend your prayer throughout the day, do the regular exclamations, praying to God in every moment. And if you want to move beyond that, then dedicate every moment of your day to God. And if you want to move beyond that, then start out by meditating on the things of God at the very beginning of the day. Now he's kind of flipped it and gone in the other direction to show that these 3 things really go together. They're built upon one another, and really require one another. Because if we're going to cry out to the Lord with words throughout the course of the day, it's really important that those words not be empty and vain, just said as a matter of rote or habit, as sometimes we hear, but really be an expression of a reality of dedication of ourselves to God. But that dedication of ourselves to God doesn't come in a vacuum. It's not automatic. It's not easy. It requires that we begin our day by reserving the entirety of our attention to the things of God, which we do with our prayer rule. But he says also, after your prayer rule is done, meditate on the things of God. Direct your heart and your mind towards him and his deeds and his works and his will and his attributes. And this will transform your day and feed the other 2 disciplines. So that's the idea. Now, the one thing that he says at the end, saying that this labor can be compared to climbing a mountain, and the higher the mountain, the higher up one goes, the easier one breathes. This is a little bit confusing because this is not, in fact, the case. The higher you go up a mountain, the thinner the air gets and the more difficult it is to breathe. Now, he may be referring to sort of 2 things. The first is, if we're not talking about climbing Mount Everest, then yes, one does kind of experience as one climbs a mountain that still has breathable air at the top, that the air feels purer and cleaner and cooler coming into the lungs. That's the sort of experience that one has climbing the mountain. It is exhilarating. It feels like one is like it gets easier to breathe as one climbs, to some degree. It may just be that he's speaking of mountains like that, not of the really high mountains where you actually lose air and can't climb successfully without oxygen that you're carrying and so forth. The other possibility is that it's possible he's fully conscious that this isn't actually how mountains work, and is in a sort of subtle way communicating a different point. We as human beings are not, in fact, designed to live high on a mountain, up where the air is so thin that there's not enough oxygen to keep us alive. We are built to live in a place where there is air to breathe. But prayer works differently, because we are created to live in constant communion with God. And even if this doesn't hold true with the really high mountains, it does hold true with prayer. The higher we ascend, the more natural and freely we enter into that effort of prayer, because this is what we are created for. This is truly where we are at home, where we find fulfillment and peace and joy in the presence of God. And that is a thought worth taking away with us. So, anyway, God bless you. We'll see you shortly for day 3.